Angelica's Worst Nightmare is a terrible Rugrats episode. This is the first segment of the 21st episode of the third season, and it starts off with Charlotte and Drew having a blue test tube. It's blue, Charlotte's pregnant. And the test tube thing was an interesting choice, but I guess that was the easiest way to portray a positive pregnancy test for a child. And Angelica spends the entire episode freaking out, terrified that her parents are going to neglect her and abandon her in favour of the new baby. And that in itself I thought was interesting because I feel like a lot of young children will go through those emotions. And, some children, you see reaction videos on the internet of parents telling their children they're going to be a big brother or sister, and some children are ecstatically excited and some are devastated, annoyed. That's definitely Angelica, and she has this nightmare with this giant baby. And I will say, credit to the episode where it's due, the giant baby is terrifying. It really played on Angelica's fears. I don't normally care for dream sequences in Rugrats, but I have to say it worked quite well. And I don't remember this episode from my childhood, but I was confused because I didn't remember Angelica having a younger sibling. So I wasn't sure where the episode was going. And then this will be a big spoiler because I'm going to discuss what happens at the end of the episode, so if you can't remember. But at the end of the episode, Charlotte and Drew sit down, and it's one of the only times where Charlotte is, well, sitting down, first of all, and quite calm, and you can see she's not happy. And she tells Angelica she went to the doctor and they're not going to have a baby. And I read into that she's had a miscarriage rather than it being a false pregnancy test, a false positive test. And obviously, it doesn't really go into any detail, but for Rugrats to even touch upon the idea of a miscarriage is pretty big. It's a pretty big deal. And all we see after that is Angelica leaving the room, pretending to be sad, and then grinning. And I think she might have fist pumped or something. I can't remember exactly. But it basically went, okay, these parents are sad. They've had a miscarriage. Let's show the little girl being ecstatically happy about this. And I just thought that was terrible. That's an absolutely awful thing to show. And yeah, Angelica's not the nicest character. She's not the biggest role model. But that was a horrible reaction. And the episode has a responsibility to teach children how to react in that kind of situation. And it just did an awful, awful job. And the entire episode was completely pointless because Angelica learned nothing. And basically all it did was show that Angelica had a tantrum and got her own way. Obviously, I'm not saying she had anything to do with the miscarriage, of course not. But that's basically what the episode showed. Angelica screamed, told her father she didn't want the new baby, told her parents they didn't want to have a new child, it wasn't right, it would be a favour to Angelica to not have the baby, and then they lost the baby. And Angelica got her own way. Where's the message? What's the point of this episode? It is completely irrelevant. And I just feel like it was an absolutely terrible, terrible idea. Had things gone in a different direction, had they had the baby, it would have been, well, I feel like it would have been a bad decision for the show, but it would have been more reasonable. And I don't know, maybe, well, I don't know, I can't even say if Charlotte and Drew were just discussing having another baby then decided not to, but then that again would seem like Angelica's tantrum had won. I just don't understand what they were trying to do with this episode. Yes, it shows that a child might go through various negative emotions if they find out there's going to be a new baby, but this showed that that gets rewarded by the mother losing the child, which is just diabolical. So yeah, Angelica's Worst Nightmare is just, honestly, a really appalling episode.